Bonjour, my name is David Devere. I'm a wine and spirits educator and world traveler. You're watching Savvy Nomad TV. This is the Eau de Vie edition, and this is episode 2 of tasting little tiny whiskeys from this holiday whiskey box that I purchased at my local Costco. I hope you've got a box, and I hope you're enjoying tasting along with Sara and I. Before we get to the tasting, I'm going to fill you in on a little bit of details that maybe you do or don't understand about whiskey. Now, both of these producers, this is number 3. This is a Beverbach. This is from Germany. And number 4 is Stauning. This is from Denmark. Beverbach uses 100% barley that they grow very close or on site to the distillery. And Stauning uses mostly rye, but also a little bit of barley. And they say you can ride your bike to their fields. So local grain, local producers, and they make a point of saying that they are double distilled. Well, what does that really mean, and why should you care or care not about it? So distillation. What is distillation? How does it work? It's easiest to think about it if you think about an oil refinery. Yeah, I know, that big stinky weird pipe thing at the edge of a city. An oil refinery. How does an oil refinery work? Because a distillery works very similarly. So an oil refinery works this way. It takes a barrel of dinosaur juice, that black sticky stuff called crude oil, and it heats it. At different temperatures, the oil separates and it becomes various compounds that you probably have heard of, such as gasoline, diesel, kerosene, petroleum jelly, epoxy, plastics, and a bunch of other things. At different temperatures, all that stuff separates out and they can condense it later on and make that product. That's how a refinery works. A distillery works very similarly. It just takes wine or beer. Wine if they're making brandy, beer if they're making whiskey. Watch episode number 1 if that's confusing to you. They take that fermented liquid and then they heat it up and they condense the alcohol. They're distilling, removing the alcohol from all the other parts, which is mostly water. Now, at different temperatures, you get these things that are harmful or bitter. Now, the harmful things are basically industrial solvents. Those come out at the beginning. Those are called heads. And then at the end, the tails are really very, very bitter. They would ruin the flavor of the alcohol. So distillers need to remove the heads, keep what they call the hearts or the center, and remove the tails. If you do this twice, you are refining, you're making a better product because you're getting just the heads and you're making sure that just the hearts, and you're making sure that the heads and the tails have been properly removed. Does that make sense? How do they know where the heads and tails are? Well, the heads come off at lower temperature. The tails come off at higher temperature, and the hearts are at a specific temperature. I believe the temperature, going from memory, I could be wrong, is 190 degrees. So they look at the temperature, and then they know, okay, I've got to that right temperature, turn a valve, keep everything that comes after that. Now I'm at a higher temperature, okay, turn the valve, throw away everything that comes after that. They don't actually throw it away. They might use it, again, industrial solvents in the beginning. That's distillation. That's refining. That's what double distillation means. And it means something to you because the distiller is saying, look, I put extra effort out. I'm really trying to make this a better product. Now, there's some people that believe that if you cut the heads and the tails out closer to the hearts, you're really trying to get rid of that stuff. You'll get less of a hangover. I don't really know if that's true or not, but that's the urban legend. Finer whiskeys, finer hard alcohols give you less of a hangover. Is it true? I don't know. If you drink enough of it, you're going to get a hangover either way. Okay, let's go outside and taste today's whiskeys. Okay, so we are at the Duluth shipping canal today, and there is obviously a boat coming in. So we're going to taste whiskey as the boat comes into the canal. And the first one we're going to taste is
the Beverbach. Is that how you say it?
Beverbach. Yep, this
Beverbach
is
whiskey.
from Germany.
Hardenberg Wilton Distillery.
It's 100% single malt. So that means it's all barley, and it's made at one distillery, which obviously is in Germany. And they grow their own barley. So let's see what we get.
And just like last week, the two whiskeys definitely have a different color. So that's kind of fun. I just like looking at the bottles.
This is clearly a kind of a smoky aroma.
It does say on the nose, warm barrel notes, punchy cereal, and malt aromas with a hint of smoke.
Oh, that ship is getting close.
It's coming in fast. Mild smell, I think.
The ship is the H. Lee White. It's an American flagged bulk carrier made in 1974. 704 feet, 78 feet wide, and it drafts 29 feet.
It's carrying stone.
Okay, so what did you think of the whiskey?
Well, it's pretty delicate. Oh, there's the boat. Pardon. Oh, pardon.
And now the bridge will respond.
Delicate fruity notes with a characteristic malt flavor. I just thought it was very mild.
I like it. It is light in its character.
Finish, warm wood and barrel aging aromas reminiscent of vanilla and caramel.
I don't really get the vanilla. I don't get the caramel. This whiskey is not necessarily available in the U.S. There are some importers that say they can get it. It's, how much is the note?
Oh, sorry, I got distracted by the boat coming.
45 euros. You can get it in the EU pretty easily. All right, let's move on to the next one.
That was pretty tasty. This boat carries... This boat carries stone, so judging how high it is out of the water and how fast it's going, looks like it's empty. Maybe it's coming here to get filled.
Okay, so the next one is the Stauning Danish Whiskey.
Stauning.
And so Denmark is a seafaring country, and obviously there's a lot of seafaring going on here today.
Yeah, that's why we chose it.
Now this whiskey, they say this is a rye, so it's barley used for the enzymes to help turn it into, convert the carbohydrates in the rye. And so it's barley and rye, but the rye...
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people on the other pier, so they were really playing to the crowd by greeting everybody in Duluth.
That's one of the fun things about living here. The shipping season runs most of the year, but it stops sometime in late December, and then it starts up again in March, depending on the ice on the lake. Okay, so here we go.
So rye.
Rye whiskey. So this should have a different character because the rye is going to taste different than a malted Scotch.
Let's see. Neither of these talk about real specific things, although this one, it says on the palate we might have some specific things. But should smell like fresh rye bread and warm spices. Way to leave me half a...
I kind of took a big...
Never mind, it's enough. It does kind of have a spicy aroma.
It's spicy on the mouth. It's super smooth. It's quite nice.
It is a little smoky.
It's slightly smoky, and that would come from the malting process, doing their own malting on their own floor.
It has a slightly oily characteristic, I think.
I would agree.
It says that it should have ripe cherries and smoked tea and citrus fruits.
I don't get the tea.
Not sure about that.
I don't get the cherries.
Finish of vanilla and peppery. It definitely has a peppery finish on the tongue. That was interesting.
He was very interactive.
Yeah, very interactive.
All right, so that's all we've got for you today. If
That was
you've
fun.
enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. We'll see you next week. À tout à l'heure. Cheers.
Cheers.